You know, it just doesn't seem like a Thursday without our friend Jim Duffy.
That's right. You may remember he was not here last Thursday. The Secrets of the Eastern Shore author ran away to the circus. Okay, well, not really. But he did go to Florida, and he paid a visit to the Ringling Museum there. Fortunately for us, he is back and here with some more fascinating stories for Throwback Thursday. So, Jim,
Yes.
do I understand correctly that going to see the Ringling Brothers Museum made you curious?
Yes. They have some strange stories down there in the museum and some fun displays. And it just got me to remembering through my years of being a history nerd some stories about the circus coming to Delmarva. And I thought that I would share those with you today.
That's awesome. So the first one actually comes from the little waterman town of Circus, Virginia.
Yeah, you know how every little town on Delmarva has that person or two people who are like, my town is the greatest place on the face of the earth, and everyone should know about my town, and they want to bring like tourists in. In the 1930s in Circus, a guy named Lloyd Drewer was that way. So he started bus tours and camping trips, and he brought the circus to town. The night before the circus was going to start, a thunderstorm rolled through, knocked over the tent that the elephant was in. The elephant panicked, pulled the peg that was holding him out of the ground, and got loose on Circus Island. So the historian Kirk Mariner has a couple of anecdotes about this that I'll share. One is that there was one guy who, Linwood Linton, who walked out into the marsh and saw an elephant coming towards him, trumpeting wildly.
Out of the marsh.
He sprinted home so fast, local legend has it, he ran straight through an unopened screen door.
Oh my goodness.
There was another guy, Herman Bailey, walked out his front door and saw an elephant dropping right at his front door. He called his wife out and he asked her a question. Ella Blanche, what shall we move? The dropping or the house?
That's a tough question right there.
That circus didn't happen. They canceled that.
Okay, so let me ask you, so you next go to Milton?
So this is a black guy born in Milton during slavery times, a free black guy. Somehow he ends up in Europe performing as a lion tamer before emperors, princes, kings. The historian Phil Martin up in Milton did a whole long thing about this, and near as he can figure out, the guy was like stationed with the Union Army somewhere, and a general from Germany liked him, took him back to Germany, where he learned to be. It's a crazy, crazy story.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction. So.
All right, one more.
One more. The circus comes to Seaford in 1935. All right? There's a bareback rider named Mademoiselle Lavere. She asks a local guy named Charlie Jones to get her a glass of whiskey. Charlie does this. He brings the glass of whiskey back. Then there's an argument. Charlie Jones thinks she owes him money for the whiskey. She thought Charlie Jones was a gentleman who was going to buy her a drink. An argument breaks out. Somehow, Mademoiselle Lavere gets thrown from her horse and knocked on the ground. And then it's like a Western comedy. A barroom brawl breaks out in the middle of the circus. And all of these drunken men from Seaford start attacking the circus performers. The snake charmer is so scared that she throws all of her snakes at the crowd to try and keep them back. And somehow, get the news that there's a city council meeting going on in Seaford at that moment. And they all storm into the city council chambers in their costumes, demanding protection from the drunks in Seaford. The newspaper report said that it was just this Wild West scene until early the next morning, and it wasn't calm until the streets a brawl in Seaford. Don't you think it would be like the greatest episode of The Simpsons ever? Like it should be Homer who did the whiskey thing with Mademoiselle Lavere, and Bart who leads them all into the city council.
Oh, you're onto something there.
Oh, who needs The Simpsons? We got Seaford.
We got the truth.
Seaford.
Really happened.
Secrets of the Eastern Shore. Jim Duffy, thank you as always.